quick little introduction for Jon. Jon is running for office for Nevada's state assembly, and he is somebody that has been politically involved for the last few years. We actually met about 3 years ago, and he is somebody who is definitely very much America first, very much for returning power to we the people in this country, and he's in Mar-a-Lago right now. So, Jon, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Sunny Florida.
Awesome, awesome. So, give us a little rundown of what you've been up to and what you're doing over there in Mar-a-Lago.
Well, obviously it's campaign season, so when I'm back in Henderson, Nevada, where my race is Assembly 21, we're knocking doors, meeting our neighbors, meeting our constituents, because it's a grassroots, Vem. If we don't have a grassroots, attempt this time, Trump has no help. We saw what the state legislators did in various states across the country, and I vow never to
Hmm.
be one of them. So we want to make sure that we can support our president from the grassroots effort, and that's why I'm running so heavy. But right now we're down in Mar-a-Lago with Tom Homan, the Director of Homeland Security for Trump, and I'm supporting him and just had an opportunity to sit down with him and find out legislatively what our interstates can do. If we're not a border state, what can we do
Hmm.
reasonably? Everybody has ideas, but what can we do? So that's why I'm down here in Mar-a-Lago, willing to bring back all this information to my constituency back in Nevada and looking forward to coming home.
One of the things so impressive about meeting with you a little bit less than a week ago, we were meeting in person. You're talking about how you are using your own resources to ensure that the election is on the up and up, funding this, essential goal yourself. Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me a little bit what you're doing to make sure that the voters, have their vote count and there's no shenanigans.
Well, that old saying that if we fail to have fair and free elections, then we, the people, fail to be free. So, it's one of those things we have to take it upon ourselves. Look at the media, look at the voting, look what's happening. The Democratic Party has taken over the school boards, they've taken over the regents, they've taken over the commissioners, they've in all local elections, from voting to everything. So we have to start taking that back. So one of the things I did was I helped establish something called which is a ballot safeguard program. And what that
Mm.
does is it allows people to, once they get their ballot, they can contact us. A uniformed person, someone in a ballot safeguard program uniform will show up and they can actually track their ballot from the time that it's turned in to the time that it's counted. And it just provides
Wow.
people with reassurance. Vem, one of the hardest things to hear is that my vote doesn't count. And Edmund Burke said it best, that the triumph of is evil when good men do nothing, and you have to vote. And I'm reminding
Mhm.
everybody that we can't blame the Democrats and Dominion and the mail and all of that stuff, because in Nevada we had 187,000 people sit on their hands and not vote. And Trump lost by
Mm.
33,000 votes. So before we need to clean up somebody else's home, let's clean up our own. So I'm encouraging every single Republican that's out there, your vote must be counted. So the only way to do that is to ensure that you can actually vote. So if you're in Nevada, again, check out the ballot safeguard program. It's something that we can do to ensure that every vote counts and you can actually track it. So it's a wonderful thing. And other candidates can do the same thing if there's a candidate out there that wants to get involved. But this is just something I had to do, Vem, because I just couldn't sit back and hope that somebody else did something. It just doesn't work
Mhm.
that way. We've seen what that got us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's amazing that people like you are doing this independently. When I say people like you, I don't think there's many out there that are doing what you're doing. It's a brilliant idea. We would wish that we had the infrastructure in place where people like you didn't have to fund this out of pocket, because not only are you funding your election, you're funding the safeguarding of the vote, which is pretty incredible, Jon. That's very impressive, man. I mean, what makes you so determined to follow this path?
One, I truly never really thought of it as impressive. I just always like to win. And if, for those who don't know, I lost by a few hundred votes last time. I won the day of the race and then I lost by the mail-in ballots. And I always
Mm.
approach these situations, Vem, with what did I do right, what did I do wrong, and what do I work on? And I did not ballot harvest. I did not use the laws. People say, well, ballot harvesting is illegal, not in the state of Nevada. And I just didn't
Mhm.
follow that piece. And had I done that, I would have won by a landslide. But instead, I really didn't address that issue. And it cost me. It cost me my race. And I will not
Mhm.
lose again by the same mistake. So we're going to be working on that. The second piece, Vem, is that look what's at stake. Our very nature of our country, our freedom. I mean, people don't realize how many freedoms that we've lost. And I'm a
Mm-hmm.
constitutionalist as written. Matter of fact, if you go to my website, drjon number 4 nevada.com, I narrated the entire Nevada Constitution. It's there. You can hear it
Wow.
word for word, start to finish. And that's important because we can't have leaders that forget the very foundation of why we're here and why we should be serving. And if I have a dollar, it needs to be spent on freedom. So I look
Mm-hmm.
at it as, yes, it may be costly. Yes, it may be sometimes burdensome, but hey, freedom's not free, right? So, and I never got to serve. So this is my way of giving back to my community, to my state, and to this great country.
You've had a very successful past as a business person, as a doctor. Could you tell us a little bit about your past?
Humbled. I had the greatest mentors on the planet. They are just, I honestly, every day I pinch myself to be able to be in the position that I'm in. I own several clinics in Las Vegas. And again, I wouldn't be here today if I didn't have a staff as amazing as the staff that I have. So many good
Mm-hmm.
doctors, so many good people. My director of operations is actually an immigrant who came here legally, and she fled war, and she actually literally came from asylum many years ago, and now she's an incredible American. But as a physician, I started in pro sports. I worked with a little bit with some professional teams in the NFL, Major League Baseball, and then I worked for a bald man by the name of Dana White, 12 years on a reality TV show, which was a humbling experience in itself to work around such an amazing set of athletes and people. So, every day we have to expand and grow. So success is not measured by the number of clinics or the number
Mm-hmm.
of, amount of dollars in the account. It's, did I make a change in the life of a person? And that's really why we set out. So yeah, I consider my success very humbling. I also consider myself, very lucky.
Yeah.
You just can't deny that. So, but thank you for that little bit of shout out there. I appreciate it. But and I'm not leaving my medical practice. Let me make that clear. It's an addition to Nevada has a part-time legislative body, which is 120 days. I will serve in Carson City. Looking forward to doing so. And then I come home to my wonderful patient base, 25,000 people strong.
Mm-hmm.
My staff. I mean, so it's exciting, and they're all behind me. My entire staff, my patient base, they all love the fact because then when I started my medical career and I took that oath and I said that I will love every human being that God puts in front of me, regardless of their sexuality, their color of their skin, even their political party or religion. I'm here to serve. And that is how I measure my success is how am I serving today and what more can I do? So I've been very blessed.
The last few years has definitely taught us the importance, and I believe the founders had this vision in mind, the importance of having people that are successful in the private sector then transcend into politics. Because it seems as though the career politicians are not very much in touch with the realities of running a business, being successful in a business. And we see overspending, we see inflation crazy. Yesterday, I went to get a cup of coffee, and not a gourmet cup of coffee, but a crappy old Folgers cup of coffee was $4. I couldn't believe it.
You know, we need what made Trump such a success was the fact that he was a businessman. He understands checks and balances. You cannot spend what you don't bring in. And because we don't have people who understand these concepts, they just write checks. And unfortunately, when it comes, what they don't understand is oftentimes those zeros in those
Mm-hmm.
numbers and reports they're getting, they're people. You just
Mm-hmm.
can't go in and just not think of the people that when you're a business person, I serve my staff, I serve my patients. And you have
Mm-hmm.
people that have no business acumen, they don't know how to balance a checkbook, they don't know how to make cuts. Look at how many programs in our not only nationally but in the state Nevada level that either overlap or they're not effective. And this is why we must have private sector involvement, because in the private sector, we don't get redos. We don't have programs that continue to fail because we don't have an endless bucket of your money. See, that's what
Mm-hmm.
the problem is. The government doesn't care about how much of your money they spend. They send it all over the world. They have programs that don't work. And it's just terrible. And that's why we need business people who know how to go, like Trump said, you're fired or it's getting cut. Those aren't easy
Mm-hmm.
decisions. They're hard decisions, especially when it affects someone's life. It's
Hmm.
terrible to realize that sometimes in tough times, we have to lay people off. We have to do that. But you have to do that sometimes at the sake of the entire corporation. And you can replace corporation with country. And it's very,
Hmm.
very important. We have people who understand these principles. A lot of them are basic and they don't even understand them. But, spending is a bad thing. We don't have a revenue problem in our country, Vem. We have a spending problem. That's the
Hmm.
deal. And as soon as we get that wrapped up and under, when's the last time we had a balanced budget?
Yeah.
You look
Yeah.
at it, and that's why we need business people. I'm very fortunate. Just to give you one real quick kind of little point, in Clark County, they spend about $32 million to build a school in the public, but
Hmm.
the private sector could do it for 11 million.
Hmm.
And our 11 million includes our furniture, textbooks, and computers. When the government does it, it's 32 million plus 5 million for school books and equipment and services and furniture, which is terrible.
Yeah.
It's just because they
Yeah.
don't care. They don't care. Well, it's only an extra 100,000. I care. I care about
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
single penny. And that's what
Yeah.
we need in Carson City. We don't need more of the same, get along to play along or play along to get along. Like my
Yeah.
opponent. She wants to placate
Yeah.
the governor, and I won't. I'll stand on my own 2 feet. I serve the people. I don't serve any party. And there's 3 different branches of government, and the governor's not in mine.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And you would think that when you're talking about three times difference between the private sector and what they're charging, I mean, you would think that there's a lot of money going to the wrong places, like enriching developers, payola. I ran for office too, as you know, John, in 2022, and some of the stuff that I was hearing in terms of people okaying developments, and then on a side, note, getting $400,000 for doing that, and all this extra money that is probably why it's costing three times more for government. I mean, do you have any thoughts on that topic?
I don't think I could expand upon it. You're right. I always say follow the money. If you look at
Mm-hmm.
our water in Nevada, every time I knock on a door, if it's not the first questions, it's in the top 5. What are we going to do about water in Nevada? Well, I'll tell
Mm-hmm.
you. Look at our Democratic neighbor to the west. Look at California's done. They sell the water they get from the Colorado River Act of 1920.
Mm-hmm.
60% of the water goes to California. They sell it. They sell the water to make in Imperial Valley
Mm-hmm.
to grow alfalfa to send to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia buys our water. They're profiting
Wow,
while we're washing our cars once a week. It's crazy. So
it's
follow the
crazy.
money.
Yeah.
That's it. It's that simple. And that's what you're seeing right now with Comer and all of these guys in Congress right now. Look at the Bidens and what they've done. Look how much
Mm-hmm.
millions upon millions, and that's just what they found so far. This man's had a 40-year career of stealing
Mm-hmm.
from the Americans, thinking we're stupid and dumb, and he was right for the longest
Yeah.
time we were. But it's people like you, Vem, that are bringing this to light. Thank you for doing what you do. If we don't have more podcasters, and we talked about this when we met, the big media is the problem. They're
Mm-hmm.
sold and bought out. They all need to be
Yeah.
gone. We need
Yeah.
independent people like yourself and these other little newscasters and people out there spreading the word on the ground. If people need to know what's happening and not what they're told what's happening. It's like you,
Totally.
you can you can go to Italy or you can read it in a book. Go to Italy. It'll give you a different experience, right?
There you go.
So
There. Yeah. And by the way, quick little shameless pitch here. One of the things we're doing with the America Happens Network is we want to embed our journalists to do exactly what Mr. Petrick is talking about here within Congress, because that's one of the places you walk in there and it's all mainstream media. We need people with our hard questions for these congressional members, putting their feet to the fire. That's what we need right now. And so there's links below. It'd be great if the viewers out there could support our agenda of having Project Veritas in Congress. But back to the interview, John, you are a quintessential, America First candidate. And so are you on the map in terms of Donald Trump? Has he taken notice? And by the way, I know there's a lot of insiders within the Trump campaign watching this. If you haven't taken notice already, this is a gentleman you need to know. But have you had any approaches from the Trump campaign?
no, sir. No, you know what? I have been around the Trump campaign several times. When he came, I helped manage the VIP section. Look, I'm lucky to be here. Let's face it, I'm a nobody. I wouldn't expect to be on Trump's radar. except for the fact is that I believe I would like to see the federal election people, the people running for those office, start to support the down ballot candidates like
Hmm.
myself. But I don't take it, I'm here. I'll probably meet Trump tonight. I'm with Tom's table, Tom Homan's table. So I'm
Nice.
excited there. But, I respect where I'm at. I got to earn that. And I haven't done that yet. I got to win a race first. And then I'm something, at some point, I'm just a boy with a dream. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
he's so busy. I mean, we're talking 94 indictments, five cases that'll probably end up in the Supreme Court, more than any other president or human being on the planet.
Hmm.
So I don't expect to be on Trump's radar right now, but I do soon.
Yeah, yeah, and we're going to do our best to make sure you are, sir, because you are a great candidate, John, and I'm really impressed. I mean, in 2022, I didn't know you that well. I've gotten to know you, and I really appreciate your honesty. In fact, I've noticed how you watch what we do at the America Happens Network, and you've been very complimentary on the fact that we're exposing things and not, going in there pretty much unbiased, uncensored, and which is what our country needs to be. I mean, we have this thing called freedom of speech, freedom of press, and that needs to be upheld. Sir, tell me about, first I'm going to ask you about your state policies, right? I know you're not running for a national office, but in terms of your state policies, should you become elected, what are the 3 to 5 most important issues that you'd like to tackle first?
Well, first, I don't want a part of that Washington, D.C. circus right now. There's a lot of things I have to learn, and I need to learn them from the state house. I chose to run for the legislative body because it is the most powerful position in the state of Nevada as a state legislator, next to the citizen. So
Hmm.
I don't want any part. I'm not here for fame. I don't need money, don't need a job, don't need fame. I
Hmm.
wanted to run because I wanted to make a difference. And the best way to make a difference in my community, in my neighborhood, is through a state legislative position. There's a
Hmm.
lot that I would do. One, I would curb in spending in our state. Andy Matthews put together something called checkbook.nv.gov, and it's an auditing system for Nevada to be able to look at where the state government, is spending our Nevada taxpayer dollars. The second thing is I'm actually here this week or this day tonight with Tom Homan because I want to know what can I do. We're not a border state, but what can I do from a legislative position to actually make a change to protect our constituents from illegal immigration, from the high
Hmm.
rates of crime that follow illegal immigration? What can I do to work with other border states like Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, and help them? What can I do? And as far as other pieces of legislation, one, I certainly would like to see again with on the taxes. We don't need more taxes. If anything, our people are already taxed too much. I'd like to control the spending. I'd also like to break up the Clark County School Board. That
Hmm.
was broken up, and the NAACP and the ACLU beat up. A lot of these candidates are so afraid to stand up for what is right.
Hmm.
And we need to break up that school board using the municipal boundaries that are in existence. Um, Water,
It is an
renegotiate the terms of.
Sorry, quick thing. In terms of the school board, because this was an important topic for me too when I was running in 2022. Like basically, the school board was built on the principle of having 50, 60,000 citizens within the Clark County, and now it's ballooned into what 2 million plus, and it's still the same structure. There's everybody pretty much complains about the Nevada, school board or the Clark County School Board. There's always the talk of what are we like 49th or 50th in the country, pretty much rock bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's simple things we can do, Vem. If we were to take, I'll give you an example, a few. If we
Mm-hmm.
were to take our students and teach them their times tables 1 to 12 by the fifth grade, we move from 50th to 42. If we were to teach proficiency in English by the fifth grade, we move from 42 to 36. If we
Wow.
were to teach a skill, drill, or a trade, we're in the 20s. And if we were to teach every student an instrument or a second language, we're in the top 25. So this
Mm-hmm.
isn't like crazy stuff. What it is that I just want to point out that we have some really big idiots on our Clark County School Board. You know what they're
Mm-hmm.
proud of? That we're the most progressive school district in the country. Even though we can't get businesses to come because they don't want to come because we have a terrible
Yeah.
educational system. So they think because we're progressive that that's good. For whom? I mean, if you
Yeah.
started to look at this, I mean, it is absolutely insane what our school board is doing. They overspend. We don't need more money for students. If you look, we're at the national average and we're still 50th. It's because we have a woke school board that they all need to be put away and pushed out because they're jokes. They're making a joke. Do you know that 17% of our graduating students in Clark County are career and college ready?
Yeah.
17% of the ones we're graduating. What the hell? Come on.
Yeah.
If I in the
Yeah.
private sector, if I was only successful by 17%, how many
Yeah.
patients are going to come to me if I said to you, by the way, I'm good about 17% of the time. I would my rooms would be empty.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just a
It's
joke. The
absolutely
school board's a
insane.
joke.
Yeah. And San Francisco is the most aggressive city, they say. And if you go to people are fleeing San Francisco because there's manure on their doorsteps from the homeless people leaving it there. They have a literal manure problem from humans taking craps on the sidewalk. So that's progressive. I mean, once you dive into what is progressive, it doesn't sound very appealing to we the people. It might sound appealing to people that are getting paid to push those agendas, but it doesn't seem to be beneficial for us.
I always struggle with this. That's a great point. I struggle with this, Ben, because I'm thinking, imagine putting it to a vote. Okay, who here wants to have more poop on the ground outside your home?
Yeah.
It's that simple. Who would vote for that? And that's what's happening. Look at San Diego, not just San Francisco. Look at San
Yeah.
Diego. San Diego used to be
Hmm.
one of the most beautiful downtown areas. It was so gorgeous. Now it's overrun. People are fleeing California, not just San Fran. It's the land of the fruits and nuts for a good
Yeah.
reason. We need it. I mean, they're a terrible neighbor to Nevada. They're terrible for our country. They got Newsom, who's a total joke. That guy, oh my God, and next to Ronald McDonald, that guy needs more makeup. He's terrible. I'm so
Yeah.
glad that I mean, I can't wait until California wakes up to really the reality of what this guy's cost them. It's embarrassing. Yeah, gruesome Newsom, look what he's done. Look what he's done to his state. I mean, how could he shave in the morning knowing what he's done? I just don't
Yeah.
get it. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
don't get it. No, you know what? And I'm not here to throw stones, but even Matt Schlapp at CPAC laughed and talked about how poorly Nevada Republicans did under this current Republican governor that we have. Let's
Yeah.
wake up. We lost it. We got our butts kicked last time, and that's why I'm running. That's never going to happen on my watch. He works for the people. I work for the people. He's not my boss. I don't work for the governor. I won't work for the governor, and I just won't bow down like my opponent to the governor. He's just
Yeah.
another person that honestly we have to get in line with. We have to get everybody in check. We need to start lining up fiscal conservatives, real ones, not just
Hmm.
people that claim to be. We got 2% of the things we wanted from a legislative standpoint last cycle.
Hmm.
2%, and we got creamed.
Yeah.
And our elected officials run around wanting participation trophies. Them, it
Hmm.
blows my mind. I mean, that's
Yeah.
so I don't mean to go off on a tangent, but we need leaders. We don't need legislators. We need leaders. That's what's missing in each state. They need people they can get behind, people that have some fuel. Not people looking for a job or a paycheck. That's where we
Hmm.
got to where we are. 50th in the country in education, 49th in the country, second highest gas prices in the country in Nevada. I mean, it's
Hmm.
nuts.
Yeah.
Again, we don't need legislators. We need leaders.
I was in Washington, D.C. for a few weeks in February and March, early March. And one of the things that was very noticeable by our team is that essentially you have people that come from independent success that have gone into politics. And those people seem to be less fearful of calling things out like you're calling them out. And then there's the career politicians that are beholden to interests that control them. They're not beholden to we the people. And you definitely qualify as somebody that's been independently successful. You don't need the money. You don't need the payola. Like you said, you don't need their money, which makes you a unique candidate, very much like a Trump is a unique candidate, or even like somebody like a Matt Gaetz, who also, from what I understand, comes from a lot of wealth. So he doesn't feel like he needs to say and do things that are destructive to the country just to fill his pockets. Could you talk a little bit about that topic?
One, I'm a Matt Gaetz fan. There's a big and bright future for that man. I will tell you that. I support Matt Gaetz. He's been a good for the state. He's been good for, the country. He stood up, and in regards to it, it just comes down to your moral compass. I don't fear man. I answer to God. That's who I fear. So I would
Hmm.
much rather be hated by man and loved by God than the other way around. And we have to get back to that. Where's our morality? No, I'm not just simply going to just go along to play along. That just doesn't how I work. My father was a colonel in the Marine Corps. He flew the CH-46 helicopter, one of the original members of Top Gun. And I remember what he always said: if you're not willing and able to stand alone, then don't stand at all, because you have
Hmm.
to be able to stand up for what you believe. If we don't do that, then we're lost. And
Hmm.
that's just that I won't stand for. No, I don't want the money. No, I don't need the fame. And no, I will never, ever, ever vote against the constitutional right of my constituency. That's how every bill, that's how you look at it. You hold that up to the light of the Constitution. If that light shines through, that's a good bill. If it blocks out a right or a freedom, I'm not signing. That's it. It's
Hmm.
that simple. It isn't, has nothing to do with me. My stage, if you will, is the Bible. My platform's the Constitution. I can't think of two
Hmm.
documents better. So it had
Hmm.
nothing to do with me. I'm so humbled and I'm so lucky to be a part of that. And if you don't want me to use my moral compass or my faith, what do you want me to use? I mean, come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's got to be
Exactly.
morality.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, is there any other state policies that you'd like to talk about while we're on the state topic?
Oh, it's just where to begin. Education is one, healthcare. Look,
Mm.
nobody does tourism better than Nevada, Las Vegas. It is the tourism capital of the world. Why are we not leading the world in medical tourism? AI for diagnostics. Why are we still treating damn diseases when we could be preventing them? And nobody
Mm.
could do it better than Nevada. In Las Vegas, we fly people in for the rodeo.
Hmm.
Super Bowls, we're building stadiums for the A's and for the Raiders. How about we start looking at healthcare and what we could do with advancing healthcare and letting Las Vegas be the beacon of light in this? I had a
Hmm.
friend of mine, the same person I do. Her son was 15 years old, broke his back in a snowboarding accident. And with what we could be doing with regenerative medicines and AI for spinal cord injuries, it's amazing. But again, one of the areas we should be fixing is healthcare in Nevada, education, the water thing I already mentioned, voting.
Hmm.
Go back to, how about we just go back to pre-COVID? How about that? A
Hmm.
simple something as simple. Not saying that was great, but it's better than the chaos they've created now. I had a guy one time when I was walking, Van, hand me ballots from last cycle. He didn't turn them in because he went in person. He showed me he had 9 ballots sent to his house. Some of
Wow.
those people hadn't lived there in years. It's like, come on, people. We got to stop this chaos. We know you're cheating. Just
Mm.
stop it. It's like, come on, get back to the people. So I'd like to see our voting go back to pre-COVID at the least. And voter ID. I know there's a few people out there that got some ballots. I need every Nevadan to sign that. We need voter ID. Because here's what happens if we don't. Illegal immigrants go to the DMV. DMV push them to vote registration, which is typically Democrat. They give
Mm.
them driver authorization cards without fingerprints. Let me explain something. God gave every human an individuality, what's called a fingerprint. Why don't we at least get fingerprints on these people? We must know who lives in our country. Or we don't have a
Yeah.
country. We just have basically just a continent that we all just travel through doing what we want in a lawless environment. So start fingerprinting, voter ID. These are all
Mm.
simple things that we should be doing, but they're just not because the cheat is in. You tell me who wants open borders? The Chinese, the
Mm.
cartels, the Democrats, all for the same thing: power,
Yeah.
power. That's what it is. If you don't follow the money, follow who wants the power, and you're going to find the most crooked SOBs on the planet.
Wow, wow. All right, so let's talk about. I know you're not running for national office, but let's get your fingerprint on what the national policies look like. Should you in the future become so fortunate to actually hold a national office? What are the top three concerns you have right now in terms of our national policies?
Well, border security is always one.
Hmm.
That's one, um, and we have to protect our borders. There's a diagram that I put out on my social media that showed what happened with border security when Trump went down. when
Hmm.
Trump put the wall up, and then what happened immediately after Biden, the worst in the history of our country by a landslide. You want to take pride? I hope, the big guy's taking pride in the fact that he's weakened our country so poorly that the
Hmm.
worst immigration policy in the world, I mean, in the history of our country, and I say world on purpose. I challenge you, go to Ukraine and try to cross their border. Try to go to
Yeah.
Italy and cross their border. And if you want to know a tough one, go to Canada. Try to get into Canada. That's a tough
Yeah.
country. So border
Yeah.
security is one. And where we're spending, we need a balanced budget. We got to get back to when we have a balanced budget amendment. In 1999, we almost had one by one vote. We got to get back to the balanced budget amendment. We got to have fair and free elections. We got to get back to also, we got to do away with the woke educational system that's polluting the minds of our beautiful youth. I would want to encourage participation in our military.
Hmm.
I did a town hall, and a young boy, a great young man, asked me, he kind of was a misunderstanding that I'm not against college. I'm against woke college preaching an agenda that came from the Frankfurt schools of Germany out of
Yeah.
Columbia. Yeah, I do the
Yeah.
research, right? So I'm not against college. What I'm against is how much it's grown in cost compared to return on investment. You got to look at that. We need skills, drills, and trades. We are 7 million tradesmen short in our country. That means we don't
Mm.
have electricians and pipe fitters and steam fitters and welders and carpenters. We need those people. You know, so I always push them to get a skill, drill, and a trade. And there's nowhere better than the military. You get to be part of something bigger than yourself. You get to learn a skill, drill, and a trade. You get to protect the nation that protects you, and you get free education. Any parent that doesn't use that as at least an option first out of the block needs to rethink their educational system. We need a
Yeah.
military. A strong military protects our border. A strong military protects our country. So there's just a few. And again, I
Yeah.
remind everybody that's why I'm running for state. It's a circus in DC. You got porn parties and all this goofy stuff going on. We need state legislators that are going to stand up, and we have very few that put Nevada first. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to kick the heck out of any of these federal elected officials when it comes to our state. I'm going to fight so damn hard for the people of Nevada that they've never had anybody stay up later, wake up earlier, and fight harder than I will for the people.
Amazing, brother. Amazing. Is there any last words you'd like to say before we wrap up this podcast? And by the way, thank you so much for making time to come to us from Mar-a-Lago. That's why we did this impromptu, because I think it's important to show that you're a man of action. You're out there meeting with individuals in the Trump administration, or that were part of the Trump administration, to actually find solutions, which honestly is a lot more than most individuals do. And it's very obvious that you're dedicated to this. Even you spend your own money to make sure that the vote goes well. There's no voter fraud, or election fraud, I should say. Is there any last words you'd like to say before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I need everybody's help June 11th. There's only
Mm.
one real Republican in my race. There's only one America First candidate in my race. I need your help. It is a battle. It is a battle that we cannot win without a team. So DRJON, the number 4, Nevada spelled out.com, Dr. John for Nevada. Check out my website. And when I want to hear from people, please, I can't do this alone. I have to have good ideas. I have to have a good
Yeah.
team around me. So I need everybody listening to this podcast. Check out my website. Check out our social media. Donate, come walk, whatever it is. But the last thing is, don't give up. Don't give up. When everything around you is telling you you're wrong, that should be the indication to tell you that you need to keep pushing. As Trump said, keep pushing. Do not stop. You can't stop, because as soon as we stop, we've lost. So don't give up. Your
Mhm.
vote matters. And there's a 4-letter word which everybody needs right now: hope. That's what
Mhm.
I want to sell. If I'm selling something right now, I'm selling hope that it will get better. We just got to get rid of these terrible Democrats that are destroying our country and our state. That's my
Yeah.
message, Vem. Dr.
Amazing.
Jon
Amazing.
Petrick, Assembly District 21, June 11th.
Yeah, amazing. And just for the viewers out there, so you're aware, I mean, this is a job that pays worse than McDonald's, really. I mean, if anybody looks up what a Nevada state legislature, assembly person makes, you're talking about what, like $9,000 across
Yeah,
really a 24-month cycle.
it is nothing. But you know what? All that money is being donated to charities, local charities.
Oh, wow.
Kismet, keep it simple, make it fun. I will not take $1, not one penny from the people, Vem. I will
Mm,
donate all of my money back to the charities in our local communities. Part of my platform was go local, local banks, local farmers and ranchers, local
mhm.
politicians, local law enforcement, and I will donate 100% of my elected official salary to the people of Nevada. They deserve it.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. John, for making the time to come on the Blood Money podcast. We're going to have you on a lot more, especially as we get closer to the election. And I really appreciate what you're doing. And thank you for standing up for really the values that we need back in our country, because we are losing this country. And 2024 definitely feels like the climax to that story. So viewers out there, please, be involved. Don't turn off. Don't be like, oh, the vote's not going to go well because there's voter fraud and election fraud and all that. Because look at what Dr. John's doing. I mean, he's come up with ways to ensure that this goes well out of his own pocket, out of his own time. And so please be motivated, because 2024 is pretty much the most important election I think we're facing in the history of this country.
I agree. I agree. Everything you
Yeah.
said, Vem. Thank you so much for having me. It is. I hope to be on more podcasts like yours, and especially more times on this podcast, because collectively we take our country back.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. John. And for the viewers out there, make sure you go to americahappens.com, insert your email address, and so you can stay subscribed to the America Happens Network, and you can get updates on the Blood Money podcast. And also seriously consider helping us with our Project Veritas in Congress, because what we're doing with that is taking this message that you're hearing from Dr. John right to the politicians, cameras in their faces, and letting them, know that these America First candidates and America First individuals are watching them just like the mainstream media is watching them. And then watch what happens to the balance of power in Congress. So thank
That's
you so
right.
much,
That's
viewers, for
right.
joining us. And I will
Thank
see you
you.
all on, yeah, I will see you all on the next episode of Blood Money.